The Tabernacle. It went unknown that the dimensions of the tabernacle held a secret message, not of this world but of the heavens. A revolutionary discovery has revealed a stunning knowledge of astronomy embedded within its archaic design. The measurements in square cubits correspond exactly to the orbits and long-term cycles of the planets. This extraordinary cosmic data escaped detection through the centuries due to misinterpretation on the tabernacle design, leading to a large-sized tent. Recent research, however, have revealed a small size for the tent. In the investigation, the dimensions involving the small tent size revealed 13 time periods with the planets, but none when the large tent size was analysed. The gold and silver treasures. This investigation will show that the biblical writers had pulled the wool over the eyes of everyone for centuries about the celestial tabernacle. But they did leave clues about the treasure trove of astronomy. 3 of the 4 weights of the gold and silver treasures to decorate the tabernacle had the same numbers as celestial orbits. The number 29 is talents of gold compared to the lunar month, 730 as shekels of gold compared to 2 solar years of 365 plus 365 days. 1775 as shekels of silver equated to 5 lunar years. The lure of a treasure trail was compelling, and it led to checking the dimensions to see if the planets were also overlaid on the tabernacle. The investigation encountered a setback because no size was listed for the tabernacle tent in the book of Exodus. Josephus listed the tent as 30 cubits long, 10 cubits wide, and 10 cubits high, the large tent size. Professor Richard Friedman listed the tent as 20 cubits long, 8 cubits wide, and 10 cubits high, the small tent size. It therefore required conducting 2 sets of analysis looking for the planets with both the large tent and the small tent size separately. The time periods in the various surface and square areas of the tabernacle were as outlined in the following slides. A major prompt with 2,300 days from the book of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, it stated that the holy sanctuary would be trodden underfoot for 2,300 days. The sanctuary was the tabernacle and its surface areas with the tent and perimeter fence for both tent sizes were as shown in Table 1. Now, here's the table, and all these tables which are listed have the same format. It shows the small tent size, the large tent size. On the left-hand side, in this case, is the surface areas shown on 3 sides of the tent: entrance curtain, veil, roof, and perimeter fence. There's a small tent in square cubits, and there's the numbers, and they add up to 2,300. There's a large tent size in square cubits, and they add up to 2,700. Instead of a prophecy, the 2,300 days compared to the surface areas in square cubits of the tabernacle with a small tent size. Orbit of Mercury. The square areas of the Holy of Holies chamber, the Ark, mercy seat, and breastplate in square cubits were as shown in Table 2. There's Table 2, the same format, the Holy of Holies in this side, Ark of the Covenant, mercy seat, and breastplate. There's the small tent size with the orbit of Mercury. There's a large tent size with a number that did not compare to any known time period. A match with the small tent size with the orbit of Mercury at 87.97 days. Long-term cycle of Mercury at 510 days. The remaining square areas with the outer chamber, table, incense altar, and burnt offering altar, and the courtyard in square cubits as shown in Table 3. And there's Table 3. And with a small tent size, the total came to 5108. With a large tent size to 5228. A match with the small tent size and 14 years of 5108 days. At that time, I had no idea what 14 years represented, except that with Joseph in Egypt, it was 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Orbit of Mars. Surface areas of tent, furniture, and breastplate in square cubits as shown in Table 4. The area was a standalone unit with entrance curtain and veil withdrawn, thus not included, and that will feature later. There's the orbit of Mars for the small tent. It came to 686.50, and with that number with the large tent size, and a match with the small tent size and the orbit of Mars at 687 days. Biblical solar calendar, 364 days. Aaron placed the veil over the Ark of the Covenant as per instructions in Exodus chapter 40. Surface areas of the inner chamber, mercy seat and breastplate in square cubits shown in table 5. A standalone unit with veil and ark excluded. And there's the small tent, and it came to 364, large tent to 404. A match with the small tent and 364 days. Orbit of Jupiter. The surface area of the perimeter fence and tent fabrics in square cubits with the veil withdrawn are shown in table 6. And there's the structure again, the small tent, 4340, and for the small tent, large tent 4640. A near match with the small tent and the orbit of Jupiter. It's stated in the Gospels that the veil of the temple was torn in two when Jesus died on the cross, and that brought the tabernacle into the background scene. The lunar month at 29.53 days. When the veil was rent in two, the surface area of the ark and the incense altar in square cubits. Sorry, can I say that again? That is in the way. When the veil was rent in two, the surface area of the ark at 19.5 square cubits and the incense altar at 10 square cubits came into view, and they symbolized the lunar month of 29.53 days. The number with 29.5 square cubits also symbolized the orbit of Saturn at 29.45 years. The results did not involve the tent and was therefore not featured in the final overview table. And the next. Long-term cycle of Venus at 2920 days or 8 years. The surface areas of the tent fabrics in square cubits are shown in table 7. And the total came to, for the small tent, as 2920 as days, and the large tent at 3240. A match with the small tent and the cycle of Venus at 2920 days in 8 years. I knew about the long-term cycle of Venus at 8 years, and it soon opened up doors in the Tabernacle. Long-term cycles of the planets. It led me to calculating the cycles of the other planets for long-term cycles. It solved the puzzle with the 5108 days or twice 7 years in table 3, because the calculation showed it was a long-term cycle with Mercury. Mars had a long-term cycle in 79 years, Jupiter in 344 years, and Saturn in 324 and 383 years. There were also two extraordinary long-term cycles, one with Venus at 777 years and the other with Jupiter at 777 plus 777 years, or 1554 years. Long-term cycle with Venus at 777 years. Still with the veil over the Ark of the Covenant. The surface areas of the tent, mercy seat, incense altar, table, burnt offering altar, and breastplate in square cubes are shown in table 8. And their small tent size added up to 777, whereas the large tent size added up to that number. A match with a small tent and 777 years for cycle of Venus. Long-term cycle of Saturn. The surface area of the outer chamber, incense altar, and table with the entrance curtain withdrawn in square cubits are shown in table 9. Table 9, 383, and large tent 723, and 383 square cubits compared to a match with a small tent and a cycle of Saturn at 383 years. Long-term cycles of Jupiter at 344 years. Now, for some reason, the designers of the Tabernacle had arranged 6 curtains, which were 11 cubits long by 2 cubits wide on the north side, and the same on the south side. And then there was the entrance curtain. Now, with the ram skins covering the roof of the tent, where the curtains would have crossed, it left at the sides 132 square cubits, 132 square cubits, and the entrance curtain had 80, and total came to 344. With the large tent size, it came to 427.2. Now, it's a match with the small tent with the cycle of Jupiter at 344 years. Orbit of Venus at 225 days. Now, there was 15 bars to go on the tent, and there was 5 bars on the north side, and you had to use Venus as the deciding factor as to what the measurements were of the bars, and that was deducted by myself. So the 5 bars on the north side at 20 by 1 cubit by 5 bars is 100 square cubits. On the south side, also 100 square cubits. Now, on the west side, it was smaller, and they calculated up to 25 square cubits, bringing the total to 225 square cubits, which compared to the orbit of Venus. But on the large tent size, it came to 335 square cubits, which did not compare to any size or any planet. Orbit of Saturn. The surface areas of both sides of all building materials were moving camp in flat layout, plus the flat mercy seat and the breastplate in square cubits, as shown in Table 12. And all of those for the small tent size added up to 10754, which was a near match with the orbit of Saturn. On the other side, the number that arrived for the large tent size did not compare to any comparable time period. Excluded were the units of furniture, with the ark, incense altar, table, burnt offering altar, and all modules were not disassembled, but carried on staves. And finally, one constellation of the zodiac at 2160 years. External surface areas of tent fabrics with 11 curtains doubled, 666 square cubits for small tent size. And with the small tent, it showed the total of the external surface area of the tent fabrics plus the perimeter curtains came to 2160 square cubits, which compared to one cycle of the zodiac. Whereas the number with the large tent size did not compare to any known time period. Now there's the 13 exhibits in the table. As you can see, it all sums it up with a small tent size. All 13 had a positive evaluation, where they compared to the orbits or long-term cycles of the planets, plus the 2,300 days. But with the large tent size, there was no matches whatsoever. Now, there were no planets in analysis with a large tent size. I have to re-emphasize that the small tent size was, therefore, with 13 time periods, the correct intended size. Two different sizes of the tabernacle tent from two independent sources with Josephus and Friedman ensured no manipulation with the numbers. Unlike forged artifacts or suspect scrolls, the tabernacle tent size was in the trusted mathematics of architectural engineering and the science of astronomy. Now, the measurements of the tabernacle materials from the book of Exodus, and I've listed them all there, and again, I've listed them there. And there are the references that I used. The purification ritual in the tabernacle at the rising of the sun. Now, the tabernacle featured in the book of Hebrews, where he stated, "It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified." The only pattern of things in the heavens were the regular orbits of the planets. The Dead Sea Scroll 4Q319 had the potential to solve the purification puzzle, where it referred to conjunctions of the planets in the 7th and 8th year. Those conjunctions were with the planets Mercury and Venus, where they come in out of the dark abyss of the underworld to cross the face of the sun in periods of 7 years and 8 years respectively. The evidence indicates that those conjunctions were perceived as a heavenly demonstration of light overcoming darkness, which was a theme that was at the heart of Jewish worship relative to the forces of good and evil. Josephus referred to the entrance of the tabernacle facing the east, so that the rising sun could shine on it, and the 7 lamps in the candlesticks were in an imitation of the numbers of planets. Imagine the scene at the tabernacle at the rising of the sun on the Day of Atonement. Aaron withdrew the curtains, and like a brilliant flash of lightning, the rising sun illuminated the gold walls, gold-coated ark, mercy seat, table, and incense altar. The blazing reflection of the sun was highlighted with the women's looking glasses hanging on the brass altar. Those dazzling gold square cubit areas in the tabernacle were metaphysical displays of the planets in the heavens. The scene at the tabernacle at the rising of the sun was a mirror image of the conjunctions in the heavens with the purification ritual as follows. On Aaron opening the fence curtain, the metaphysical displays were purified with a cycle of Jupiter at 344 years, with the exposed parts of the 6 coupled curtains at either side of the tent and the entrance curtain as shown in Table 10. On Aaron opening the 10 curtains, the sun purified. A cycle of Saturn at 383 years the surface areas of the outer chamber and its furniture from Table 9. Cycle of Mercury at 5108 days from the square areas of the outer chamber, its furniture, brass altar and perimeter fence as shown in Table 3. Cycle of the zodiac at 2160 years from surface areas of external tent fabrics on display plus perimeter fence in Table 13. As Aaron opened the veil, the sun purified. The orbit of Mars at 687 days from the internal surface areas of the tent and its furniture as in Table 4. The ark and incense altar at 29.5 square cubits formed a shadow on the back wall of the tent, symbolizing a lunar eclipse in the sun's rays. Orbit of Venus at 225 days from the surface areas of the 15 bars in Table 11. Orbit of Mercury at 87.97 days from the square areas of the inner chamber, ark, seat, and breastplate in Table 2. The long-term cycle of Venus at 777 years from internal surface areas of the tent, plus seat, incense altar, table, and burnt offering altar, without the ark in Table 8. And finally, the solar year at 364 days from the surface areas of the inner chamber, seat, and breastplate, without the ark in Table 5. Aaron had followed the dazzling rays of the sun's light as it purified the hosts of planets in the 2,300 square cubits of the Tabernacle until the holy sanctuary was cleansed, as foretold by Daniel. This sacred purifying ceremony at the Tabernacle escaped detection over the centuries because the wrong size tent had been calculated. The almighty powers of the Tabernacle and its iconic furniture, displaying light overcoming darkness at the rising of the sun, should be enacted each year on the day of Yom Kippur. And that is the presentation, and as you can see, there was lots of facts and figures in it. But you can go back over the presentation and pause at each slide and study the tables. And you also can refer to the list of the measurements and the outline in the book of Exodus, which I've included in the spreadsheet. So thank you for bearing with me. It's been a long haul, and I just exit the video now. Thank you very much again for bearing with me.